Good morning, 6th grade. Today is Thursday, December 3rd. As you know, I am out of the office due to Keystone testing. Today is the last day that I will be out of the office, unless you hear otherwise. So plan on being at our regularly scheduled live learning tomorrow unless something occurs where I will not be in the office tomorrow, but I should be back for our social studies live learning session. So for today, in language arts, you have a quiz on the Great Fire. Please make sure you use your ebook and your vocabulary whenever you are completing the assessment. Take your time as well. In math, you are solving fraction equations. Okay, with solving fraction equations, it's just like solving equations with whole numbers, only this time you have to apply your knowledge of fractions in order to add, subtract, multiply, or divide fraction equations. Remember, we do the inverse operation to both sides, okay, in order to figure out what the variable stands for. In science today, it's your new unit on rocks and fossils. Today's lesson specifically is about how minerals are identified. Okay, so please make sure you do your lesson for today. In social studies, you also have a new unit, Changes for the Jewish People. It's lesson 7.1. Okay, so please make sure that you complete the lesson in its entirety. All right, in terms of fraction equations, everyone, just to give you a couple of examples to help you complete your lesson for today. All right, so if we notice here in number 1, we have 1/4. Okay, it's being multiplied by x, okay, equals 6. Okay, so remember, we have to think to ourselves, what is being done to x and what is the opposite? Okay, remember, we're going to do the inverse operation to both sides. So, since 1/4 is being multiplied by x, remember that we need to now divide both sides by 1/4. Okay, so that's going to leave us with x on this side. Okay, 1/4 times x. If we divide it by 1/4, we'll be left with x. So on this side, we need to do the same thing. So we would have 6 divided by 1/4. Okay, and that is going to tell us what x is equal to. Okay, if you remember, we need to apply our rules for dividing fractions in this case. So 6 divided by 1/4, remember, we're automatically going to put our whole number 6 over the number 1 and follow our keep, change, flip. Okay, so we're going to keep our first fraction the same. We're going to change our division sign to a multiplication sign, and we are going to reciprocate or flip, okay, our second fraction here. So instead of 1/4, it's going to become 4/1. Okay, now we just need to multiply as normal. We have 6 times 4, multiply straight across, which is going to give us 24. Okay, we can put it over 1, but 24/1 is the same as saying 24. Okay, if you want to check your answer, take 24. Okay, since that's what x is equal to, take 24, multiply it by 1/4. So put 24 back in for x. Okay, and you will get 6. All right, so there's an example of one where you had to divide. Let's look at this one. So we have h divided by 7. Okay, h divided by 7 is equal to 5. Okay, so ask ourselves what's being done to the variable is being divided by 7. So we now need to multiply both sides by 7, right? That's going to leave us with x on this side. Okay, and on this side, we're going to need to also multiply by 7. 5 times 7, as we know, is 35. Okay, so if you want to plug in 35 for h, okay, we know that 35 divided by 7 is in fact 5, so we are correct. All right, here's another one, a word problem. It takes 3 buckets of water to fill 1/3 of a fish tank. How many buckets are needed to fill the whole tank? So if it takes 3 buckets of water to fill 1/3 of the fish tank, how many buckets are needed to fill the whole tank? Just think about that for a minute. Okay, so what operation do we need to perform in order to determine the answer here? Okay, so a lot of students will reason with themselves and they'll say, well, if it takes 3 buckets of water to fill 1/3 of the fish tank, can't I just say, well, 3 plus 3 plus 3 will give me 9 buckets of water? Okay, because if we think about 1/3, that's 1 out of 3, right? Our whole would be 3 out of 3. Okay, so can't we just say 3 plus 3 plus 3, which would be 9? Okay, so you can think about it that way. All right, but is there another way? Can we apply an operation here? Okay, if you said divide, you are correct. Okay, so we could take our 3 buckets of water, right? And if we went ahead and divided that by 1/3, okay, you would also get 9. Put your 3 over 1, follow your rules. 3 over 1 times, okay, we would reciprocate this, 3 over 1, and we would get 9. Okay, remember, we want to know how many buckets of water we would need to fill the whole fish tank. Okay, if it takes 3 to fill 1/3 of the fish tank, how many buckets are needed to fill the whole tank? Okay, we check that for reasonableness, and it's 9 makes sense. Okay. All right, so when you're solving these fraction equations, everyone, today, think about it. What operation is needed to solve the problem? Is it reasonable? Okay, when you're solving your equations, make sure you're doing the inverse operation to both sides and applying your knowledge of fractions and operations with fractions. Okay, remember, if you need help, homework help is available from 4:30 to 7:30. The link is on your calendar. It's also on the SIS homepage. No appointment needed. You can also contact Mrs. Chambers at extension 140 if you have anything urgent. Okay, other than that, you can email me. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And I will see you all tomorrow for our live learning for social studies. Have a wonderful day, everyone.